There we go. So let's just fix the camera here a little bit. Yeah, not looking good today. I'll tell you that right now. Right now, testing. All right, so this isn't really a stream, but I'm gonna do this anyway. So let's just kind of do a mock one of these so that you know what this is like. So we'll start with SCP, so that we have an upwards trajectory as we go through the rest of the pages here. So the random page is Cyrus's obituary. So senior staff Shenanigans. Well, first of all, I have to find out when this was written. Look how long this is. Yeah, typically I wouldn't want to do a tale, but I guess I will. So this was written in 2014, 2011. So this is really, really old. We're really getting into Law Foundation territory here. You got the staff, Admin Bright is around here somewhere. Here he is again. Super old user, Min. I don't know if Min is around anymore. I do remember Min. Min had some really good stuff. Don't know what they've done lately. Looks like the last time we saw them was March 23, which is pretty recent, October 22, still writing. So good to see that. Oh, this is beautiful. Oh, wow. This is pretty. Epibodernites? What is this? They gave me a starter Pokemon. I'm ending up reading something totally different. They give me a starter Pokemon. It's red, white, and has little star patterns and has gills that ooze milky bubbles when it cries. It's gross and I love it. I bring it around everywhere. I give it a name. I call it Stinky. I'm not an imaginative person. Against story. This is just a very pretty website. I mean, poetry clinic. Related posts here. Epibodernites. That's interesting. I like this website. This is really nice. Archive. This is just sort of like trad prose. It looks like maybe some poetry. Something about a magazine. It looks like pretty good writing though. I'm not going to read any of it. Cybernoria category. I'm not even sure what any of this means. Subtopias. Interesting names. I love the onomatology. Stray gods. When I'm out fighting ghosts, I'm really thinking of fucking you. Okay, so this video is automatically rated R. Superscripts. Meta Tiger. Page Tiger. This is a really interesting page. Check out Min's page if you are into this. Pubs. Look at publications. Singapore Unbound. This is 2020. Yeah. A review, I guess. Sean Chaw is the name of Min. Min's names. Sean Chaw. Interesting. Got some publications to look forward to. That's kind of nice. I'm more interested in what these publications are. Honestly, very pretty. I love the art style here. This is gross as hell. God, never mind. If it was just this, I would have been, this is carrying it way too far. Look how gross this is. Gafsi's here. This seems to be, a random day is here. Gafsi. Yeah. What the hell? It's containing, mature audiences contains content that may be disturbing to some readers, including death, extreme violence, explicit sexual imagery, animal cruelty, child abuse. It's not funny. Drug and alcohol abuse, mental illness, and self-harm, as well as others we might not be able to mention. So this is some kind of like zine or something like this. It looks like it's a, this just reminds me, strong vibes of like middle school papers, double-spaced. What is this, Times New Roman? What is up with these caged emojis? Different on every page. Yeah, this is certainly not up my alley, but very interesting, and I certainly can recommend this to some people. Gafsi, we know, it's on a Google Drive, so I'm not sure if it's technically a publication. Maybe it's just upcoming. Not sure. This is something that Min wrote recently. It's in Series 8, so I'm not familiar with it. I really haven't read Series 8, thank God. Part of the anthology. XY? Y for something. Okay. Anyway. Also something recent from Min. I think Min Min wrote, God, what is that SCP? SCP Radiohead. This is not the name of it. IO. It's a really prominent, yeah, meta article. I think this is by Min Min. Let's double check. Yeah, so this was 2016. This is back when the wiki was just excellent. And this is probably the best that Meta ever got on the wiki. I'm using Edge. I really don't like how Edge does this with its images. Anyway, good job, Min Min. Great article. Just what I would do to have written this article, you don't want to know. You don't want to know what I would have done to have written this article. This is a great article. It's so good, so good. This is an article that I would tell somebody, hey, this is containment fiction. Like, go read containment fiction. Here's a good example of containment fiction. Check it out. I would be proud to show somebody this who doesn't know what containment fiction is, which is sort of, I think, not everything, but it has a lot to do with what I think we should be doing with containment fiction, which is, you know, making sure that it's a nice representative to the greater internet. You know, shit that we get these days in Series 8, for example, I'm sure is not something I would show somebody who I wanted to introduce containment fiction to. This is a good example. This is a shit article. If someone saw this as their first introduction to containment fiction, I would be mortified and totally embarrassed. You know, there's a ton of examples. There's a ton of examples on this series of that. I don't know. I don't really know this one very well, so I don't want to kind of pick on anything that I don't know. But there's a ton of them in this series, I'm sure. Anyway, that's Min Min. So I guess we'll read this. Unfortunately, it's a tale. Would rather not read tales. Dr. Bright is the first character that we see, so this is not a good start to things. This is obviously before. Once again, this is all Lowell Foundation. Dr. Bright sat in the middle of the cafeteria. The old-fashioned computer sat before him. Atop the computer was a certain monkey. Yeah, we all know what that monkey is. What an image. Yeah. All eyes glued to the good doctor. Yeah, right. The staff prank war of 2011. Whoever holds 050 at the end of a 24-hour period will be promoted to the ranks of senior staff. Okay. Yikes. Yeah. So this is just like straight up zaniness. Dimitri's here. Or, not Dimitri, whatever. I'm going to call him Dimitri. 2 hours later, you son of a bitch, Jack. God damn it. I mean, it's, you know, it's just straight up Lowell Foundation. Agent Lament, which is Troy L. I mean, there's just so many indications that this is of a time of severe immaturity on the website, and it's writing something that really the current day is sort of circled around to in so many ways. But this is embarrassing. But you know, it may be well written. You know, I'm not saying Clef's in here. Loser is in here. I don't know who that is supposed to be. Loss. God, it's like, this reads like some of those really cringy self-insert attempts. People sort of like mold themselves, awkwardly try to fit themselves into the universe with names. That's what this feels like. Gene Carlisle Actus is a good example. Lieutenant Flopses is actually a little better than the average, but that's kind of another one that comes to mind. There's all kind of ones that are like this. Mini Meats has one. Manly Eats or something like that. Some shit. There's all kind of ones like that. They're all terrible. Every single one of them is bad, except for maybe Lieutenant Flops. Anyway, so yeah, I'm really not interested in reading this. References to Series 1. This is really from back in the day. Arby Cooleyet's in here. I mean, it's just a grab bag. It's just trying everything. This is like if you walked into a house and every room was painted a different color, but not only that, but just the craziest shit was all over the walls. It's so loud. Totally juvenile. It's like walking into the middle of a daycare. That's what this article feels like, and that's kind of the vibe from this time. Once again, the SCP Wiki has sort of wrapped around to this. We have Tickle Wrestling in here. Jackal is in here related. Don't know who that is. A clear plastic vibrator, SCP-297 is referenced, just absolutely dumb. Yeah, so 682, of course, is invoked. This almost feels like a decommissioned tale. Sheldon Katz, nice, okay. Yeah, definitely not going to read this. This would be, see, this is why I have a $5 mark. I'm not going to read this. This is why I have a $5 mark for reading anything on SCP. It's probably really, really bad and not worth the effort. This is probably better than your average thing that's on the SCP Wiki these days because it is from 2011, even though it's Law Foundation. So that says a lot, I think. Let's head here next. We'll go to the RPC and we'll do our thing. Where are we? No random tail, random RPC. Thank you, RPC, for splitting those two things up, ensuring that I don't get a tail on the RPC. All right, so we're at 246. We got an alpha orange, emotional, sensory, and radiation hazard. 246 is to be stored. Underground lead line alpha grade containment cell, 50 feet away from high foot traffic. In the event of destruction or damage, it's to be vacated immediately. As an appropriate replacement containers to be procured as soon as possible. The replacement should be delivered and used to recontain with the aid of a radiation-hardened, remotely controlled robot, such as a retrofitted bomb disposal unit. So these are really nice containment procedures. They don't go into exorbitant. They don't go into something elaborate. They're nice and specific. They give you a good idea of what's going on. The image really takes me out of universe immediately. This looks like a stock photo. Where could this possibly have been taken in the RPC Authority? Do they have a staging room? Is this food photography? Is that what we're doing here? Where we see this white background, everything's so clean, like ridiculously so. Is it behind a green screen? Is that how they got this effect? Why isn't it resting on a table? Have they levitated it? Is it a levitating box? That's also a little bit of tension maybe we can have at the offset of reading this article. Maybe it'll answer that question. I don't know. But this is really, really bad image work. This is like the lowest effort, bad quality, low quality image work here. God dang, it's so bad. But the containment protocols are fine. Yeah, they are very tight. They're very well stated. They have a very clear understanding of what's going on and where it wants to go. It appears to be a feather belonging to a male member of kestrel, which I guess is a bird. I don't know what that is. A footnote would be nice. There are two distinct physical differences, however. Namely, the feather measures some 94 centimeters in length from base to the shaft to the tip. Ayo, no homo. Far exceeding the wingspan of the common kit. Okay, I see. Wow. So the feather is longer than the wingspan. So this is just really well written. I mean, by the first two sentences, you really, it's like, oh gosh, yeah, that's kind of interesting. Pulls me in, very interesting. The object also appears grayscale in coloration. I see this person is British. Love that. Just a little bit of extra class on everything, like a spice or an herb, with no pigment commonly found in the aforementioned avian. That's a kind of a confusing sentence that fumbles over some attempts to be very clinical. I'm not sure that works very well. A -3. See how short this article is? I love it. Don't want to speak too soon. Yeah. See, I love RPCs. Hell yeah, dude. It's a the 3 is it? What was number 2? Do we get -2? We got this. I don't see a -2 in here. I just see a -3. Am I wrong? I'm not wrong. There's a 3. There's a 2. I mean, sorry, there's a 1, there's a 3. Let's just do an old Control F. There is no suffix post 2. This article is totally missing a -2. That's kind of embarrassing. The -3, which maybe should be -2, is a simple wooden box made of some kind of wood. This is absolutely obsolete and outdated. This is embarrassing to have a decimal place to the hundredths when it comes to centimeters when you're measuring what's essentially a block of wood. That's not a good idea. We have it here again and here again. Not sure why you need to know that. The dimensions correspond to more evenly numbered cubits. I guess that justifies it. The Western honeybee beeswax is used to seal the lid, and all the internal surfaces are anointed. Great word choice. Little unclinical, but I'll excuse it. It's great. With a 131 mixture of gum arabic, myrrh, and frankincense. So we're starting to get a little religious, right? This kind of evokes a little bit of Christian mythology with the frankincense, gold, and myrrh, although it's honey or gum arabic. Yeah, I like that. Like that really nice flavoring here. You see, it's not really an ingredient yet. It's just kind of a hint, kind of like if you were to smell the dish before you got to it. The deviation from these specifications causes the breach of containment within a month. Huh, okay. The two anomalous properties become apparent when beeswax seal is broken. It begins to immediately radiate across the entire electromagnetic spectrum in an erratic pattern. We've got some very poor polish and finish on this article. Definitely should have used at least one more read through. If you're not putting your text through a text-to-speech application, whether that be your phone, which is the cheapest and easiest way to do it, most convenient, it's free. If you just go to your settings, for example, on an iPhone, you turn on your accessibility features where you can read, get your iPhone to read this out loud. You won't have problems with that unless this is an actual word and I'm just making an idiot of myself, which does happen from time to time. Nope, not today, Junior. Spectrum in an erratic pattern with constant shifts in frequency and amplitude. It immediately, let's read that again. The object begins to immediately radiate across the entire electromagnetic spectrum in an erratic pattern with constant shifts in frequency and amplitude. So in other words, it changes colors really, vibrantly and turns into radio waves and maybe ultrasound or something like that. I don't really get it. That's kind of a strange way to put that. Not very clear at all what's being gone for here. As such, it's impossible to ascertain when relatively safe observation periods are to occur. The only constant, yada, yada, yada. Okay. The second is, so it's effectively impossible to observe with the naked eye. Okay, great. All that to say that, wish you would have just kind of cut to that, honestly. The second anomalous property, rapidly fading, provokes dangerous levels of activity in the limbic system and auditory cortex within the brain, resulting in hallucinations. Okay, frozen with fear. Okay, does not impose control over individuals. Good job. A wide berth around that compulsion hazard right there. Although it still has a bit of a Series 1 sort of compulsion. We're talking like pre-Series 1, before Series 1 was a thing, right? Just SCP series, like edit this kind of vibes right now, or even 4chan. The experienced sounds are described as deafening mixtures of white noise and brass instruments. That's kind of interesting. Mentally unstable and otherwise emotionally variable individuals have, in 2/3 of recorded cases, entered a temporary catatonic state. Yeah, I mean, catatonic states, crazy until dead. This kind of really has that kind of recipe going on. I'm not sure about that. Those levels are quite high when we get to this paragraph in the read. Really throws off the read, in my opinion. Yada, yada, yada. Severe mental strain, irritation, yada, yada, yada. Mood swings, appropriate therapy. A palpable agents, so we're tying back into the Christian sort of ethos, the Holy See, Vatican, chaos, of course, and a containment breach, death and a containment breach. Okay, so we have a testing log. This is not long, it's 1. I love RPCs. This is the doctor. Advances in technology allowed a more in-depth analysis of the original vessel containing RPC-246, although its age has been a matter of much debate. The use of the shittim wood, I'm going to assume that's a real word and not look at it, and documents of Father Blank point to pre-Roman Levant, but until the recent use of a little boring at this part. So it's really old is what this is getting at. So basically it's just talking about how there was an Iron Age precursor that contained it. I mean, so we've got an interesting premise here. The clinical tone is pretty good. It does kind of falter. There are some real shoddy moments in this where it sort of arrhythmicizes a bit, but overall the clinical tone is good. It's a pretty directed anomaly. I think it knows what it's going for, but it suffers from kind of what we saw with one of the other things where it's just a hodgepodge of things. It really could stand to trim some of this stuff. It's just a lot happening at once, and it doesn't really go anywhere. It kind of it brings in the Christian thing only to really have a callback at the end that doesn't really go anywhere. It just tells us that it was from somewhere that was vaguely Christian. The acquisition log as well, it's just sort of there. It's not really integrated at all into the rest of it. We get basically the meat of this, unfortunately, is the fourth paragraph here, which really is over-seasoned. It really calls back the old Series 1 SCP, even maybe edit this SCP kind of vibes. I'm not really sure what this is. This is a very underdeveloped idea. I think this rating is pretty appropriate for what it is. The image, a re-upload of my first article due to it having been heavily rated. Okay. So there's that, and then we'll go one more place. Still better than the SCP read, I'll tell you that. Of course, it's not quite fair because that was a tail, and I typically don't like tails. So I don't think there's a random on this site. So we'll just kind of click one. There's really not many to choose from here, are there? And it's pink, isn't it? Gross. I'll just click on a random one. I love SCP Commune. See how succinct this is? It has not lost the plot. It really hasn't. All right, this is Euclid. It's kept in Site 99's Humanoid Anomaly Medical Center, provided with standard amenities for immobile humanoids. Already interesting. Care must be taken to not physically disturb. Contact with the heart or blood vessels is forbidden entirely. See, it's fascinating. It's very well thought out, very artful, very artisanal sort of anomaly already happening here. Nicely nodded to in the containment procedures. Fans facing SCP-C404 must remain active to prevent the accumulation of dust. I mean, what the hell, man? Very interesting. I like where this is going. So it's a 22-year-old female. Bold of you to assume its gender. The thoracic and abdominal cavities are empty, save for the heart and blood vessels. I'm a huge fan of this already, seeing as how I'm in the medical field. The anterior abdominal wall is also absent. It's the front side of the wall, exposing most of the interior to the elements. This is kind of crazy. There are sort of medical states where this can happen. Don't Google it, but usually it happens in the spine. Spina bifida is kind of where you see that, where there's an exposure of the spinal cord. But theoretically, and this has happened and can happen, birth defects can have organs growing outside of the body. So this is an extreme example of that, obviously. The heart is engorged to about 6 times its normal size. That's what we call heart failure. That's what I work in. Shout out. And is located in the center of the abdominal cavity. That's very odd. It beats between 250 and 270 times per second. That's per minute. That's quite a lot. So the average is, maybe somewhere from, 60 to 80, 90 being the upper limit of normalcy. At 100, 120, you're starting to get into high heart rates, tachypnic, tachycardic really is what we call that. Excuse me. Up to 350 times, at rest, and 350 times per minute when it's active or agitated. That's crazy. The blood vessels follow an elaborately knotted path through the thoracic and abdominal cavities, which are actually just the same cavity, if I understand this correctly. No need to differentiate the two, before entering other parts of the body. It's immune to physical harm and disease as long as its heart function is undisturbed. It's so poetic. God, you see how powerful something can be in not a lot of words? This is a really good example of containment fiction because it doesn't have to reach and stretch and overexert itself into past forms of prose, which we don't want to repeat doing because they've been done before. It's kind of like, it's really a regression when you get all narrative heavy and make it, a novella. This is amazing. Very good writing. Attempts to damage via piercing have proved ineffective. The subject does not require air or sustenance. Various infectious agents have no discernible effect. That's a good thing for having an open abdomen. In contrast, the heart is abnormally susceptible to damage. Yeah, so I'm going to have to cut it here because I can hear my daughter coming down the stairs and I don't want her to be on the stream, but maybe you can hear her too. I don't know. She's coming. Here she comes. It's inevitable. I get about 20 minutes before I have about 20 minutes of free time at a given time, so that's a good time to end the video. Anyway, I'm going to go back and read this on my own time. This is a really good SCP, I can tell already. Let's just kind of give a shout out to who wrote it. Of course, it's Communism Will Win, who's one of the best at this. I wish I could finish this with you. So I think this is going to be kind of the vibe. We start with the SCP sort of as an appetizer. It's kind of the lower quality. It's more of a volume brand these days. RPC, we have a little more to deal with. It's shorter. We can get into it more. We can have more intensive one-on-one time with the RPC than we can the SCP because it's probably going to be too long. And then we'll maybe finish up with something like this, which usually is a nice mix of the two with a little more artistry, much higher artistic quality as a product. This has been Lack of Lepers, aka SCP CRMP, and I appreciate it. This has been episode 2 of SCP Kinda Sucks Now. See you next time.